Some of the most successful competitive Pokemon of all time are cross-generation evolutions, new evolved forms of Pokemon from previous games in the series. It makes sense. New and anticipated evolutions for previous Pokemon tend to be flashy and powerful by design. Pokemon like Gliscor, Mamoswine, and Weavile are significant upgrades to their previous forms, popular among casual fans and competitive players alike. Even the most recent games have introduced some all-new evolutions that are outstanding competitively, including Ursaluna, Archaludon, and Kingambit. But some of these cross-generational evolutions end up missing the mark on their goal to breathe life into older, forgotten Pokemon. Some of these evolutions seem okay in theory, but end up not working that well in practice with concepts that didn't quite come together. And some just feel lazy, with barely any improvements over the original Pokemon, or much of an attempt to give them exciting new tools. Let's take a look at some of these disappointing cross-gen Pokemon evolutions that didn't quite live up to expectations. One of the most classic examples of what I'm talking about here is Electivire, who was at a point a pretty popular Pokemon. Electivire is officially ranked OU in Gen 4 because back in the day it was used enough to earn that ranking. But in retrospect, we can view this as new toy syndrome at the time or something, or people didn't know what they were doing. Because in the modern metagame, Electivire is considered very unviable, and this OU ranking is extremely outdated. Electivire is a pretty cool Pokemon design though. They were definitely trying to make something good, and they gave it some pretty interesting qualities. This is an electric type mixed attacker, which is a unique idea. It has the new ability for the time Motor Drive, which is electric immunity, and it grants a speed boost upon being hit by an electric move. Electivire has a high attack stat, uncharacteristic of most electric types at the time, and a pretty nice move pool with a lot of different coverage, including Cross Chop, Flamethrower, the Elemental Punches, etc. It's not hard to see why this was a popular choice when it debuted, because it was new and flashy and exciting and unique. But looking at it on an objective level, you can see that this is a flawed Pokemon. The biggest issue with this Pokemon, and it's an issue many physical electric types have had over the years, is just a lack of good physical electric stab. Thunder Punch is just not that good of a move. It is unexciting with a low base 75 power. Electivire also finds itself struggling to figure out where to invest its stats. It's not that fast, with only a base 95 speed. It's an okay speed stat, but it's going to find itself outrun by a lot of common threats. It wants special attack to be able to threaten as wide a variety of things as possible, but it often feels spread too thin. The best way to go with Electivire usually is to take advantage of Motor Drive as the source of speed, relying on baiting the enemy to use an electric move to get Electivire on the field and then threatening as much of the metagame as you can with wide coverage. And you can achieve this sometimes. Electivire pairs well with Pokemon like Gyarados and Suicune, who do invite electric type moves, and comes Electivire to get that speed boost and then try to threaten the world. Electivire always seems to come up short one-hitting things though. It probably needs hazards up to actually pose a threat to all those different things. And of course, relying on the opponent playing into this and actually boosting your speed with an electric move is inconsistent. It's not always going to happen, and even if it does happen, you need to chip things into range of your coverage or have hazards up or be in a game state where Electivire can punish the enemy really hard. It's a lot to ask for all those stars to align. In practice, Electivire is easily stopped, difficult to even get going, and maybe it's a bit like a jack of all trades, master of none. It has a lot of cool options, but it doesn't excel at any particular area and falls a bit short because of that. I do appreciate the design of this though. I think they made something unique and they were trying to make something functional, but unfortunately not every Pokemon ends up thriving competitively. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But you could say that Electivire was maybe a building block for future Pokemon such as Zeraora, who is a similar Pokemon to Electivire that did end up being good competitively. They gave that a good electric move. It's got better stats, of course. It's actually just fast by itself. And it has a similar role of, it has electric immunity as well, and special coverage, and many of the same design qualities. So perhaps Electivire walked so that Zeraora could run. Also in Gen 9, Electivire did get a good electric move in the form of Supercell Slam, which is a great electric type attack, and a lot of formerly terrible physical electric types are really loving this new addition to the game. But it was a bit too little too late, I'd say. Maybe if that was added 10 years ago, it would have been relevant to Electivire's moveset. In the modern day, a Pokemon with these stats is kind of struggling to keep up with the increasing power creep. Another classic example of an underwhelming Pokemon evolution was of course Dusknoir, an evolution for Dusclops. And when you look at them side by side, Dusknoir didn't get that much of a stat increase. Its HP is still very low, the defenses are about the same. The biggest stat increase was attack, increased by 30 points, so Dusknoir can hit quite a bit harder. But Dusknoir is suffering from a lot of the same problems that Dusclops suffered from, because they're extremely similar. Although the visual design of this Pokemon is really cool in my opinion, they didn't really give it that much to distinguish it from the previous Pokemon. Even compared to Electivire, the previous example, Electivire got an all-new ability and stats. They're really trying to do something new. Dusknoir is suffering from its low base HP, which restricts its longevity. It doesn't have any good healing moves, utility moves. Even though it does hit a bit harder than the original Dusclops with a higher attack stat, it's still only base 100 attack. It's not hitting particularly hard, and you don't even get a great ghost stab option. Similar problem to Electivire. Your best bet is Shadow Punch, which only has 60 power. Not a very impressive choice. Shadow Sneak is good, but you do wish that you had an actual hard-hitting stab move that wasn't just a weak priority move as well. Dusknoir also feels like it's outclassed by many other bulky ghost types. In Gen 4, it's outclassed by the Rotoms, who are electric ghost in these games. It's often competing with Gengar, even though Gengar is much more of an offensive Pokemon, and Dusknoir is way bulkier. Gengar always tends to feel more useful. In Gen 5 there was Jellicent, Gen 6 there's Cofagrigus, etc. Dusknoir lacks utility, options that keep it consistent, and much of a distinct identity as well. It doesn't really stand out very much, and it even finds itself outclassed by its own pre-evolved form, Dusclops. Dusclops has very similar stats, and with an Eviolite equipped, Dusclops can achieve incredibly impressive bulk, and it's actually quite a good Pokemon in competitive doubles, where Trick Room is a valuable asset and it has other good support moves, like Helping Hand, Ally Switch, etc. And it's much bulkier than many Trick Room setters because of that Eviolite boost. Many were disappointed with Dusknoir, and it's clear to see why. And much like Electivire, Dusknoir did more recently get the move Poltergeist as an actual good ghost stab option, but once again, a little bit too little too late on that one. Now this one, you might be surprised that this even exists. Lickilicky was a new Gen 4 evolution for Lickitung, and this was kind of a failure all around. Ended up ranked in the never used tier of Gen 4, and it's been terrible ever since. That's a pretty poor debut for a new evolution and a terrible career. And honestly, this is one of the more uninspired and uninteresting of the bunch. You can give a bit more credit to Electivire and even Dusknoir for trying to be a bit distinct. Dusknoir arguably not, but Lickilicky is genuinely just Lickitung with slightly higher stats, and the visual design, I don't even know if I like the visual design. I think I might prefer the original Lickitung for its smaller and more elegant appearance. This Pokemon is pretty bulky with an impressive 110 base HP, decent defenses as well, and you can run a Curse Rest Talk set, I suppose, but I mean, what space is this filling in the world? It's a normal type with Curse Rest, sounds familiar. Snorlax is calling. You've taken his entire style, Lickilicky. What have you done here? Ability Own Tempo. This Pokemon cannot be confused, and yet I'm confused as to what this is supposed to do in battle for me. You tell me you provide a niche over Snorlax with your immunity to the move Confuse Ray. Don't make me laugh, Lickilicky. Oblivious. This Pokemon cannot be infatuated. That's nice for you, but what about me? What about my needs as a Pokemon trainer and my success in battle? Did you ever think of that? And you might notice these are the precise same abilities as what Lickitung already has. So what in the world is Lickilicky doing that's distinct? It just has more stats and it's a worse version of other normal types. This is a bad Pokemon. I'm just going to outright say it. This is not a good Pokemon in any regard. They failed here. They didn't do very well. And this got the ability Cloud9 later in Gen 5. I suppose that is something. That does get rid of weather from the field, which Snorlax cannot do. Other normal types cannot do that. But that's something. They gave it that unique tool, and apparently that had some use in VGC long ago. Perhaps over a decade ago at this point. Lickilicky VGC was a niche choice as a bulky anti-weather Pokemon. But still, I can't help but feel like this is a pretty underwhelming, disappointing, and also unpopular new evolution for a prior Pokemon that missed the mark in many ways. Mr. Rime was a new evolution of Galarian Mr. Mime in Gen 8. Technically, it's a different regional form than the base Cantonian Mr. Mime, but you could view this as a new evolution in a similar vein to these other ones. And this Pokemon is absolutely horrendous competitively. And you can look no further than just its typing to understand why. Ice Psychic is an absolute travesty in the making, with more weaknesses than one can even hope to name. It also has a poor base speed of only 70. Its stats are okay with special attack and special defense being alright, but that is just a death sentence, that typing and that speed. You're gonna struggle to hit the field and do much of anything. They at least tried to make it kind of distinct. You have the unique ability Screen Cleaner, which gets rid of screen effects on switching. That's never existed before. And the visual design is fun. I quite like the visual design. I like his little walking stick, the cool hat. He looks like a real gentleman. Ice body doesn't really fit on this. It's not bulky, but they gave it that regardless. Also has rapid spin randomly. I don't know how many people were even wanting a Mr. Mime evolution. It's not a very popular Pokemon. I think I like Mr. Rime more than the original Mr. Mime, just in terms of visual. When I look at Mr. Mime, I only think of trauma and suffering. Mr. Rime looks a bit more of a friendly fellow, to be honest. He's not soundproof. He listens to the world rather than putting his hands to his ears and not listening like original Mr. Mime, a terrible gremlin creature that nobody likes, that should honestly be removed and ousted from the franchise if I had my way. Mr. Rime, on the other hand, has a heart and soul to him. He's got a, even though he's got a cold exterior, he's nothing but warmth inside of him. Don't be fooled by appearances. Unfortunately, though, a kind heart doesn't get you anywhere in this cruel world, and Mr. Rime suffers down in the depths of the ZU tier, where unviability is the name of the game. And I'm sorry to Mr. Rime for it, but it's just the harsh reality we live in. Cursola is another one from Gen 8. A new evolution for Galarian Cursola. Sometimes they give the evolution to the regional form instead of the normal base form, which is fun, and there's a lot of opportunity for cool design there. And they tried to do something unique with Cursola. I'll give them some real credit. Visually, love it. It's like a diseased coral who has died and become a ghost. It's a tragic tale of pollution or something. It has some interesting abilities. Weak armor is good. On a slow Pokemon, take a hit and become a fast threat. It also has Perish Body, which is very interesting. On hit, it creates the Perish Song effect. Totally unique effect there that fits with the flavor of the Pokemon too. It has a massive special attacks and special defense stats, which seems promising. Mono Ghost is not too bad of a typing, and it's got a good special attacking move pool. It just suffers from being a bit too slow. Perish Body often ends up punishing you more than your opponent, making things awkward for you. Cursola's frailty on the physical side is a big drawback too. The Pokemon in practice just ends up being awkward to use, a little bit fiddly, and not perhaps as they intended. There was an attempt made here though, and you gotta give some respect for the attempt, but the attempt was unsuccessful in this instance, regrettably. Honestly though, out of all of these, this might be the most creative in terms of concept, because they took Cursola, who's a little coral creature, and they expanded on it in a way probably no one ever thought they would right here. And I think they did a good job on the creative side of things, for certain. Wyrdeer is a new evolution for Stantler, introduced in Pokemon Legends Arceus, made available in Gen 9 upon the Pokemon Home update. And this one is damn disappointing, I must say. Wyrdeer visually looks very majestic, a very cool upgrade visually to Stantler, who is a pretty basic reindeer creature. This looks like a magical forest being, a deity even, and it's got story significance, I think, in the video game. But this is genuinely just Stantler with a psychic typing and slightly enhanced stats, and that is not, it's not a good enough combination of qualities, folks. It's simply not. Normal psychic is a poor typing. It does have the new move Psy Shield Bash, which is a signature move. It's a 70 power psychic physical attack with a 100% chance to raise defense. It's an alright idea, I suppose, but it's kind of weak, not that strong, not that impressive. Not enough for this to be worth using at all. There's very little to even say about Wyrdeer, and Stantler was a long-forgotten Pokemon who definitely deserved a new evolution, and they just gave it this. It feels lazy on the gameplay side. It feels like there's nothing going on here. No new ability, no nothing. It's a terrible Pokemon, and in Gen 9 ZU, there's not even any recommended movesets for it. I don't even think anyone's using this ever. So it's a barely, if it's an improvement of a Stantler, it's not even verifiable or quantifiable. It's barely an improvement, and you might even rather just run Eviolite Stantler, honestly. To be frank, at least it's not weak to Dark and Bug. I don't know, folks. I don't know about Wyrdeer. They missed the mark in a big way here. Dudunsparce is perhaps the greatest example of a lazy new evolution that has ever been done. It is genuinely just Dunsparce with an extra dun in there, and that translates to an extra sphere in the middle of it. I will say though that this is at least funny in how lazy it is. That's probably the point of it. It's a joke Pokemon, I think. It is genuinely just the same Pokemon with an extra sphere on it and slightly higher stats. Same typing, same ability, same everything. I don't know if I'm gonna hold this one against them that much. I did get a laugh out of it when I first saw it. It's a bit silly. And what are they going to do with a Dunsparce evolution, really? It's already a joke of a Pokemon. What are they going to do? Dunsparce 2? I can't fathom such a thing. Normal dragon type, and it has wings on it that grow larger? I'm going to say no to that one. I think that this, if there was going to be a Dunsparce evolution, perhaps it should be a funny joke. And that makes more sense than anything actualized. Anything actual. And finally, you've got Kleavor. This Pokemon is a new alternate evolution for Scyther from the Hisuian region, available in Gen 9, that people had really high hopes for, myself included. I will say that I'm guilty of overrating this Pokemon massively when I first saw what it did, before we could actually play with it. I thought this would be really good. When it finally came, there was a bit of new toy syndrome going on. People were using Kleavor. People quickly realized, actually, this Pokemon kind of stinks. You look at it and it looks damn good because it has an incredible attack stat, decent base speed, but most notably of all, it has the move Stone Axe, which just sounds insane. It's a 65 power rock type attack that sets Stealth Rock on hit. I mean, Stealth Rock has been one of the best moves in competitive singles for as long as we can remember. I saw this and my eyes popped out of my head and said, excuse me, you can do what? In practice though, I mean, Stealth Rock feels worse these days with boots everywhere, and most rock weak Pokemon are just running the boots for security. So setting rocks on the field doesn't feel that good. You have Sharpness as well though, to buff the damage of slicing based attacks, and you got Stab X Scissor, Stone X here gets buffed. But bug rock typing just kind of sucks. As a hazard setting lead, there are much better options in Gen 9 like Glimmora, Summerlord Hisui, various others. Many rock setters have like long-term defensive value like a Gliscor or something, or Great Tusk, that beat out Kleavor. It ends up not actually feeling that scary as an offensive threat either, and it also feels easy to stop as hazard setting lead game plan, as you can easily spin against it. It might spend Terra Ghost to keep rocks up, but that's not even that good of a thing to do. The Kleavor feels clunky to use. It feels a little bit underwhelming. Looks promising in theory, but in practice it's kind of just losing most lead matchups. Even if it gets a good scenario, it's easy to get rid of the rocks or just ignore the rocks these days. Bug Rock is a bad defensive typing with a lot of terrible weaknesses, including to rocks itself. So you got little mid-game value, you're kind of all in on the opener, and there are just better Pokemon at doing that, like Glimmora, etc. So Kleavor ended up being pretty underwhelming, and even Scizor feels better still. Scizor is an example of an incredibly competitively successful cross-gen evolution, introduced back in Gen 2 and pretty consistent over the years. Much better than Kleavor still. Alternative Scyther evolution. Kind of looks fun though. It looks like a RuneScape mob or something with a weird weapon going on. The dual wielding the blades. I like his style, but I don't like him on my team. I would rather run almost anything else. And that's it, folks. What did you think of these hand-picked, disappointing evolutions from across the franchise? Do you disagree with me? Are you actually a Lickilicky super fan? I don't know if I've ever seen one before. There's probably one out there who loves Lickilicky and is furious at what I said about him. I know Lickitung has fans. I know many of them. But Lickilicky? I'd be surprised. What about my other opinions here? Do you agree or disagree? Are there some that I left out? Let me know down below in the comments, and thank you very much for watching.